Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Boon Lake. Let's check it out. Lots of setup here, but once you set it up, the game runs pretty smoothly. What you're going to do is put these little black markers on the board to each one of these little areas that you see indicated there. Each player is going to have 2 of these tiles. They're going to pick one of them and place them along the track here next to their color. So green player would put here, then yellow, then red, then blue. If you're not playing with 4 players, you would just randomly select one for the color that was not chosen for the game. So for instance, a 3-player game, if no one picked yellow, I would just draw a random tile here and place it where yellow is. Also, you're going to pre-place some of these tiles here. As you see, it'll have the number of players on the back, and it has it printed on the board here and here. For a 4-player game, it would be here and here. For a 2-player game, there would be a lot of other spaces there. But you would cover up those. It would give them starting spots to where they can place tiles on. Other things, you got 3 track markers. One's for the victory points. One is the card track, and one is the coin track. You'll start at the beginning of each one of those, the 2 spots there, and of course 0 on the victory point track. Over here, you will shuffle this deck and give out 6 cards to each player here. After that, you'll shuffle all these gray tiles, and you don't have to shuffle these cattle tiles, just put them out just in a stack separately. You'll shuffle these little colored tiles and then place them anywhere you want to along this board. And then you're going to fill in your player board here. You got 2 canoes starting off here, and then it basically tells you where everything goes with men, houses, settlements, and buffalo will go right there. There's a player aid in the rule book that shows you everything sets up. You'll put 3 people on your board here, and then the rest in reserve over here. You'll have these scoring tokens, these 4 scoring tokens. This thing, if you go around the round tracker once or twice, first player will start with $6, second player with $7, third player with $8, so on and so forth. You'll have some vases over to the side, some of these switches right here that you'll be able to place on your board later on over the side. You'll have these upgrades here for your player boards in these little areas. And at the beginning of the game, you will get to select which one of these you want to place in one of these pockets here. You want to place them on the 1 spot, not on the +2, but they start off with +1, and you decide which one you want to start with. It can be either one. It can be the one on the very end too, whichever one you want, and then you're ready to play the game. Now, gameplay here, I should also mention that you have your ship token right here on a 3 to 4 player game or 1 to 2 player game. It will go up there. Gameplay, extremely simple. All you have to do, and this is for first player here, but what we've done is we've passed this around whoever the current player is, because you take an action and then all the other players take a secondary action. So sometimes you forget who was the first player. So we kind of just pass this around, just a little first player token there. The game, like I said, is easy. You're going to take one of these tiles, any one you want, and then you're going to move that many spaces on the player board, on the river board here. Now, as you see here, if you pick one of these bottom 2, you're going to lose some victory points too. But let's say if I pick this one, it says move 2. I would move 2 spaces down the river and collect whatever the icon says. Could be coin, could be card, could be vases, could be upgrades, could be anything, could be people or victory points even. But that's where you're going to stop. Now, no 2 ships can be on the same square. So if there's a ship here and I have to move 2, I'll go 1. I skip over him for 2. Okay? The only time they can be on the same space are these little bay area markers here, 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 and here. And of course up front there. But other than that you skip over the other player spaces, you will not land on those. Now, taking this one, I would take the primary action here, and then all the other players, as you see here, would take the secondary action. The only thing you have to, and then of course everything would slide up. This one would go on the bottom, and then play would go to the next player. The only thing you have to worry about is the iconography for each one. But again, the instruction book tells you what each one does. Just to give you an example here. This one allows you to cover up one of these little areas here on the game board and get the reward. And everyone else will get some coin for if they have one of each in any of these other areas. Any of the other land areas on the board. Something like this here, this would give you a man from your reserve over to your player board, and it would let you place one of these gray tiles. You'll take it up and place it anywhere next to an existing tile. Now, things that are next to each other, for instance, if I had one, I could not place one here because there's no tiles touching it, but I could place one here. Now, in the next turn, or maybe I got this tile here that allows me to place 2 of those gray tiles. If I did, I could place a second one, and I could place it here, 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 or there's a bridge here. I could actually place it up there because those two are next to each other. These spots are next to each other. This bridge is next to each other, and these two spaces are next to each other as well. So it'll give you options as the game goes on where to place it. Now, if you covered up any of these little emblems here, you will get the reward. Coins, men, upgrades, cards, whatever it is. You'll just grab them from the deck or from the player reserve and put them in your area. You don't get what's on this yet, just for placing the tile. That is for something else. You got these other symbols here that says either or, of course, so I could play a card from my hand or collect 2 more cards. Or something like this. And all of them have this on it. Well, a lot of them do. Let me just show you these. These all start off with, hey, you can play any one of these type cards. The moon, dawn, or sun. You know, morning, afternoon, or night. So if you have any of those cards in your hand, so for instance, as you see, I've got a lot of, there's a morning, noon, and night right there. So that means I could play that particular card, which is the arrow pointing down, or as the arrow pointing up says, I can discard the card and get $2. If I say I'm not going to do this, or I don't want to do this, I can discard it and get $2. And of course, cash is tight, so it would probably behoove you to get rid of some of those cards at times. But you can only get rid of a card of that type. So if I chose the sun there, I could not get rid of this card because it is afternoon there. So I could not take care of that one. I'd have to get one of these red tiles to discard one of these cards here. Other emblems you see here, this one gives you a little lever, so you can put a lever on your game board here. And if you look at the game board, I have an example here, you put the lever here, and wherever it says is how much money you're going to have to pay. And so if I bought a little lever, I'd place it here, and I'd pay the $5. I'd keep it up like that. Now, if ever you want to use any one of these special abilities, you press it down and you activate it. At the end of the round, you'll get to push all these back up. But for right now, it's a one-time use per round. And the iconography is kind of simple here. So for instance, if I press it down here, I would get one vase. Or if I had a vase, I could sell it for $6. This gives me another lever upgrade. This gives me a regular upgrade on the board here. Very self-explanatory, all of these. And of course, the rule book will help you out with anything you don't quite understand. Now, and let me see, this one's put out a pasture here, this one's put out a buffalo here, which I'm going to explain how that kind of works later on. But like I said, they're all kind of self-explanatory. And then after that, after the first player's gone, the second players, all the other players get to do these actions on the tail end, separated by this divider up here. So how it works is, first off, let's talk about upgrades. This one here lets you place a man down on the board. So for instance, I could take a man from my player board here and place him on any one of these little spots here. This one would get me 1 card. If I place him there, I get 2 coin. And of course, all of these tiles come with different rewards on them, and they're kind of simple. So I put here, I get 6 coins, but I lose 3 victory points. And you can't get negative victory points in the game. But anyway, that's what it means to place a man down. Or I could upgrade. So here's the big deal here. What does an upgrade mean? Well, whenever you upgrade, you can take, first off, and it shows you here, you can upgrade one of these 2 men in these little areas here. That's what the upgrade symbol says. But when you do, you have to remove a cowboy from your regular player board. So for instance, I decided to put him out. All right, I decided to put him out as my upgrade or whatnot. I place him on the board. I can get my reward. You can also place him here to take care of one of these goals here at the top here. Kind of self-explanatory. You need X amount of stuff here, and then you get that type of reward. But if I did that, I'd remove a cowboy from my player board. Now, if I wanted to upgrade that cowboy to a house, it says it right here. Say, okay, take one of your men from your reserve and then upgrade it for a house. So I take another man from my reserve, place him over here, remove this cowboy, put him in the reserve. Don't put him back into this thing here, and then replace him with a house. I don't get the reward again, but now I get a house. Later on, if I wanted to upgrade to a settlement, I'd have to get rid of 2 players on my player board to upgrade that house to a settlement. So I'd have to take these 2 cowboys and replace that house. And again, I put the house over here, not back on my player board, with a settlement. Now, buffalo are a little bit different. They can only go in little pastures, and depending on how many buffalo, you can have it to 4 buffalo, your own or other players. There could be a total of 4 buffalo on each one of these tiles here, buffalo tiles. And depending on how many buffalo are there determines how many cowboys you have to remove. So for instance, if no buffalo are there, I just have to get rid of 1 cowboy. If 2 buffalo are on that tile, I have to get rid of 2 cowboys, and so on and so forth. So in this example, I just get rid of 1, put that little buffalo right there. Now there's 3 more that can fit on there. That's how upgrades work. Playing cards in your hand is very simple too. What you're going to do, remember sometimes it determines on what's on the corner there, so I have to pick this knight card to play it, or sometimes it's just, hey, any type card you can play from your hand. So for instance, I'd play this. I'd have to pay 9 coin, have 2 wood and 1, I can't remember what that is there, but metal I think. Now as you see, I'm already generating 1 metal, and I have 2 canoes by the wood. So I have 2 wood and 1 metal. Now if I had 9 coins, I could pay all that, get 3 victory points, and then it says, hey, every time you try to play another card, you're going to get a discount, a -1 discount. And these can add up. So what if I had 3 of these? Well, next time when I play this card, I have 3 of these, which brings this price down to $1. And that's what some of these do. Some of them say, hey, at the end of the game, you'll receive rewards on how many buffalo you have. Some of them are instant rewards here. So I'll instantly go up on the card track. So I move my guy up the card track. Some of them move you up the coin track as well. Like this one moves you up twice on the coin track. Now I should speak about these tracks. Whenever you pass a little midway point on here, it has a little lightning bolt where you'll get certain upgrades too. One of them is upgrading your little factories here. You can do it here on these player boards or through certain cards or passing over this area. What you'll do is you'll either place another resource down on the table here or flip one of your existing resources to the +2. That way you're generating more money. Now, if it was something, here I'd have to pay a vase here, but let's say it's something where I need 2 brick and 2 metal. Well, I have it on 2 metal, but man, I need 2 brick. I only get 1 here. I have to move one of my canoes up. At any time, moving your canoes downstream costs $0. I can move them all the way here. Anytime you're having to move them back, that will cost you $2. So you're constantly moving these around and maneuvering them and playing the cards just right to get the abilities or build, you know, some of these cities, getting the victory points or the rewards on them. So the game keeps going until someone's ship passes this first blue gate. And as you see, there's a number 1 arrow here and number 2 arrow here. So the first time they're going to go through the 1 arrow and go this direction. Once they pass the gate, they will take their turn, finish it, and then they'll revert up to here to the blue gate that matches this and go in this order about what they're going to be doing. What happens here is every player, including the player who crossed it, will get a choice. They can play 2 cards from their hand, like build 2 things, or do 2 upgrades on their player board, or do 1 of each. Maybe I want to play this building and get 1 upgrade. Now, if you can't do either of those, then you just have to skip it. Next, you have to score one of these 4 tracks. And as you see here, there are a little round, and each round, the objectives get higher and higher. So for instance, I have to pay one of these things, well, nothing in the first round, once, 3 times, 5 times. And again, the player aid will help you out on what the iconography means. But you take your number 1, as it says here, number 1, and you can place it anywhere and score those victory points. Or if you couldn't get it, so let's say it's the second round, and I have to have at least 1 settlement out during this, none for the first round. So that's an easy first victory point. But if I waited on this one and we're at round 3 here and I don't have any settlements, then I'm going to lose, and since it's the 3rd round, I would lose 3 victory points instead of gaining them for not hitting that goal. So you have to decide each of the 4 rounds which goals you want to score or which ones you want to take an early loss on. But after that, then it goes to your cards. That's when you're scoring whatever you are on the coin track, wherever you are on the card track. So you get coin and cards, and sometimes if you're further along this, you'll get victory points. As you see, if you hit the end of each one of these tracks, you'll just get victory points every time you're supposed to move up. After that, then you're going to unlock all of your little levers. So if any levers here were on the board and they were used, you would reset them. If you didn't use any of them for that round, you would get a victory point instead. And then finally, you take these little markers, like I said, when you cover them up and get the reward, you'd remove them, remove any of the covered markers from the board, and you're ready to go again. Now, you score again once a ship crosses here. When a ship crosses there, you'll have all your ships start back up here, go down the river, and then cross this gate again. That would signify the third scoring round. And then finally, when a player crosses here, you finish out the round, so every player will get an even turn, and then you'll do final scoring. And final scoring, you're going to do a few things. In fact, on the player board it says, hey, look, how many levers do you have on your board? If you have 4 to 6, then multiply that number by 2. If you have 7 or more, multiply that number by 3. Also, you're going to look at any of these little emblems on your cards, say in game, and score any of those victory points. And then you're going to score victory points based on these bottom 3 rows that you've cleared. If you've cleared any of these bottom 3 rows, for this one, you're going to get 2 times the number of rows. So if I cleaned out all these, it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8. If I cleaned out both of these, it'd be 4 times 2, which would give 8. If I cleaned out both of these, it'd be amazing. That'd be another 12 points. After that, of course, whoever has the most points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, I ordered this one with 3 other games, and this was one that I had reservations on because it seemed like a really heavy game that was going to drag and maybe wasn't that exciting. I got excited about it because there's a big, I can't remember if this was, I think Miniature Market had a big sale on this, as did Amazon at the time. And so I bought it at a discount because it looked interesting. But as the games were coming in, this is the one I kept looking at going, I may not like this one. Whoo! Love this one. Really great game. It seems like a lot. The iconography is the only thing you have to get over. But as I said, once you understand all the iconography, the game moves pretty smoothly. I will say this, there is a little AP, analysis paralysis, and that is on the what cards you're going to build. A lot of people, like me, it didn't happen to. Sometimes I was going to build a card but realized I didn't have the money, or one of the resources was impossible to me to get because I had to move back down the river and pay 2 coins that I forgot I had to do. That was the only time I had to pause and think about which card I had to play. But people pick a tile, and then they'll sit there deciding which card they should play. It's a silly AP there, and I don't know how common that is, but it does make the game drag. Now, not too much, because it is the same. I'm trying to look at what the time here is here. So 40 minutes a player or whatnot. Yeah, that's about right. But that's because there's some analysis paralysis. Could be almost 60 or 50 or something. But I think once we started playing the game, and I played it with different groups was my problem too, so everyone kind of had that drag on just figuring out which card to play. But as the mechanisms went, as the gameplay goes, everyone easily understood it. Like I said, we had to consult the rule book to see what each slide meant, but it is such a great rule book to tell you what each slide meant that we just passed it around a couple of times, and after a while they knew what each tile meant. Buffalo, none of us ever got that much buffalo out. I don't know if that's a common thing or just something that my group was never interested in, but it seemed like no one ever wanted to put or could put buffalo on the board. So that may be something wrong with the game. Maybe they need to make it easier for that, or maybe it's just my group needs to get better. Either way, though, I do love the game. Other than that, it's a fantastic game. Several different ways to win the game, several different ways to score points. At first, you don't know what to do because there's so many choices, but eventually you'll find a path to what you think is the victory, and who knows? You will move around the board at least once. Twice, no one has done yet, but I have moved around the board and had my 100-point marker when I thought, this is impossible. How can you do this in 4 rounds? Believe me, eventually you can build up to it, and it's so satisfying when you do. Excellent game, Boon Lake. That's it, gamers. Till next time, you know what to do. Game on!